Welcome to NetLabs Hub. Welcome to this particular lab. Today I'm going to show you how to configure Hub and Spoke VPN on FortiGate Firewall in GNS3. Hub and Spoke VPN is the kind of VPN that is used whereby we've got one single head office connected to multiple branches. In this scenario, the hub here, this is the headquarter, whereby I have one central firewall based at the headquarters data center, and this hub is controlling the branches, that is Spoke 1 and Spoke 2 here, so that any communication from the branch occurs through a secure tunnel in coordination with the hub, so that when this user here, Spoke 1, communicates to the headquarter, the traffic passes through a secure tunnel automatically. So it uses what we call Border Gateway Protocol, BGP, automatic, to create the tunnels or to provide the gateway for those tunnels. So at the end of this video, you'll understand how Hub and Spoke VPN is configured on FortiGate Firewall, and also you will understand how tunnels are created, how Hub and Spoke VPN is verified, and specifically how it is configured on the hub and how it is configured on the branches, and also part of troubleshooting and testing. So this is the topology. The hub is here. The interface connecting the hub to the internet is having this IP. This is an IP that will get it automatic. Then the LAN on the hub is serving under this subnet. Then you can see Spoke 2 is serving under 192.168.40.0/24. Then Spoke 1 192.168.30.0/24. So according to this topology, port 1 on firewalls, on every firewall here, it is connected to the WAN, wide area network. It's connected to the internet. Port 2 is connected to the LAN. And port 5, it's a management port. So that port 5 is the one that will give me the capability or ability to access these firewalls in the browser. So I'm using this cloud and the switch to control these firewalls, so that through these two setup here will help me at least to access the firewalls from the browser. You can see every firewall is connected to this switch. So let me begin, and these are the steps. I'm going to assign IP addresses on the interfaces statically, and for those interfaces that are connected on the internet are going to get IP address through DHCP. So once the interfaces are assigned, I'm going to create static routes on every firewall. After static routes, I'm going to now venture in configuring the Hub and Spoke VPN, and I'll start configuring such on the hub. This is the central firewall here. So let me start with the firewall here. Port 1 will get the IP DHCP through DHCP. Then port 5 is the management port. Then port 2 is the LAN port from this subnet. So I had already started this session. So I log into the firewall. You create admin account. Once you create admin account, then we start configuring ports. Edit port 1, that this is our one port. Then we set the mode to be DHCP. Then set alias. This is hub 1. Then set allow access. We just give it ping, then that is okay. If you don't want to quit to start on the CLI, so that you can start configuring another port without entering config system interface, you just enter next, then it will give you an interface mode whereby you can go to another interface here. Set mode, this is a LAN port. Set allow access, so on the LAN we are going to give it such capability. We set raw, that is a LAN. Then next, I have not set IP on this, so set IP 192.168.20.1/24. Then next, edit port 5. We set the mode into DHCP. Then this is the port that will help me access this firewall from the browser. So once you are done, then you are prompted to set we configure the host name. We just give it hub, then good to go. So I'm done on this firewall configuring this interface and this management interface plus the LAN interface, so that to verify that you can just check diagnose IP address list, then you will see the addresses here, so that I can use this IP on port 5 to access this firewall in the browser, and this is the IP that has been assigned automatically from the internet to that particular port, and this is the LAN port. So that's what you have to get, so that when I enter here 192.168.10.3, you see I'm able to access. So this is the hub. You see, this is the hub. So next I'm going to configure. Let me extend the idle time first. Next I'm going to configure Spoke 2 or Spoke. This is Spoke 1. This is for the internet. This is the LAN. Port 5 is for the management. Come here, Spoke 1. We set the host name. This one helps us to identify this particular firewall in terms of troubleshooting. Then we configure the interface facing the internet. We set the mode DHCP, then set allow access, ping, telnet, then that one. It's okay. We set raw 1, then set alias. Spoke 1, that one. Then we go to the LAN interface, port 2, set mode. So in FortiGate Firewall, before you set an IP, whether static or DHCP, you have to specify the mode in which that particular port gonna function, whether DHCP status or static. So you have, in my case, set static, set mode static, then set IP 192.168.30.1/24, then set allow access, ping, then telnet. So once we do that, we can specify the role of this interface. Spoke 1 LAN. So once we are done, then we move to the management port. management port. Set alias MNG. We can verify the IP address that has been assigned to these interfaces. You see port 1 has already assigned this IP, then port 2 for the LAN statically given that IP. Then when we repeat the process, we can get that 192.168.10.35 is for the management IP. So at this stage, I have accessed Spoke 1 and the hub in the browser. You can see. Remind me later. So once we do this, we extend the idle time so that we restrict this particular FortiGate firewall not to log us, to log out every time. And then so once you do that, you do the same on Spoke 2. Every time you access the firewall, you have to set the admin account. Then after admin account, you have to specify the host name for troubleshooting purposes. Once you specify the host name, ensure that the interfaces are well configured so that your firewall can communicate. So here, if at all I can just explain this. This is the command to enter into port 1. Then we've specified the mode that it means that this port is going to be assigned IP address automatic from the internet. Then this statement here, it will give us the ability to ping the address that will be assigned on this particular port. Then this is just the name that we will identify this port with. Then this is the role of that port, is a one port. So next we go to the management port. Set mode DHCP, then set allow HTTP. So after this, now we assign the IP address statically on the LAN port. (192.168.30). This is 40.24. Spoke 2 LAN. So once we do that, we can verify. You see it has received 34. So we copy that. Then we just paste it here. We'll be good to go. So once you do that, the next step, once you access the firewalls in the browser, you will enable the DHCP capability on the LAN interfaces of each firewall. So in my case, you will enable here and then give it 49 so that it can start with 50. Then when it comes to, that is it, You come to the network interfaces. On the interfaces, you click on the LAN interface, the LAN, the port that is facing the LAN. You enable that. Same applies here. You click don't show. Once you click, you extend the idle time. Then you enable the DHCP on the LAN interface, or also you can configure it on the CLI. No big deal. So once you are done, once you do this, we are good to go. The first thing after assigning IP addresses on the interface, you create static route. A static route is just a type of route that helps the clients to know the path through which the traffic will take. For example, this is what I mean. Like if this computer here is trying to ping the internet, the static route will direct this particular computer the path through which that traffic will follow. You should not confuse it with the firewall policy. The firewall policy is what kicks in whether to deny the traffic or to allow. But the static route is just defines the path to be taken. So in this scenario whereby traffic will flow from this computer to the switch, from the switch through this port 2, then to whichever direction it will go. So that's what you should understand between the static route and the firewall policy. So once we are done with this, we create the static routes on every firewall. So we'll start with the hub. On the hub, you will go to the network, then you create the static route here. So in my case, for example, hub, what is the gateway for this? The gateway, for example, the gateway, it will be this IP here. So it will be dynamic. So you just give it the port through which it will access the firewall, then you give it dynamic that way. You create that way, then same applies to Spoke 1. You just click, give it the interface, then the gateway, let it be land static dynamically, as you can see. You give it that way, then that way. So I'm done configuring the static route. So the next thing, we can at least allow the DHCP clients on every. If you want to know how DORA process works, you can just say DHCP hyphen, then you see it has received IP. It has received 49 from this subnet. So that is covered the hub. So let me also enable here. The moment you see DORA, it means that the client is able to communicate with the server. But if we try to ping from Spoke 2 to the hub, it will not work. You see, it has failed. It means at the moment Spoke 2 cannot communicate with the hub because the firewall policies have not been configured. So once we enable the DHCP client, we can now move on creating the firewall policies so that at least the LAN can access the internet. So in this scenario, this is Spoke 1, Spoke 2. So let's create the firewall policy. For example, from the hub, you go to policy and objects, then you create the policy. You can give it access internet. Then incoming port, the port that is bringing in traffic is the LAN port, then outgoing is the WAN port, then everything, the source, I want to allow every node from the source, then service, I'm going to allow every service. Once we do this, we can ping the internet because I have allowed the policy there. So we just come here, then try to ping the internet. The internet is Google. You see, I'm able to ping Google the moment I have just created this policy here. So that's what you should understand. So same applies to Spoke 1. Access internet, LAN port, WAN port, everything, all, then all. We log all sessions. Forget about these IP signatures. I'm creating policies, so I have done it on the hub, on Spoke 1. Now I'm on Spoke 2. Without these policies, the tunnels will not be up. Ensure that before you configure the Hub and Spoke VPN, ensure that you can ping across. The LAN can communicate to the internet. You see, at this stage, I expect to ping Google. So this one, the policy is syncing. First of all, we save, then you see, Spoke 1 can communicate with Google, the hub can communicate with Google. So Spoke 2 DHCP. Once you get that, then so we check Spoke 2 here. You see traffic is coming in. Let's refresh. But the most important thing, that ensure that static route is configured, then the policy is also in. You see, this is the policy. As you can see at this point, traffic 1.34 kilobytes of data have been able to go through. So I'm done configuring the static routes, policies, assigning IP addresses on interfaces. So the next thing, I'm going to my central firewall here. This central firewall, I'm going to create this VPN on this, and the type of VPN that I'm going to create, it's hub and spoke. Hub just means that central location to many sites. This is one to many type of VPN, whereby the tunnels are just automatically created. It's also called auto discovery VPN, ADVPN. So remember here, my interface is this one. All this traffic from this site will be coming through this interface. This is their gateway. For this computer to communicate with this side here, it should see this gateway. This one, same. It will get to understand the gateway, you see. So once I'm done with that, let me now move to the hub and configure the hub and spoke VPN, so that this one is going to serve as spoke. This one is going to serve as spoke as a role. Its role is as spoke. Then this one is a hub. So you go to VPN, then IPsec VPN. You see there is nothing here. So step one, you click, then you create. You give it a name, then you choose the template. We've got site to site. In this scenario, this is site to site, whereby one FortiGate at one site, then another FortiGate to maybe to a branch. We've got hub and spoke, you see. One main FortiGate, maybe at the central location or maybe head office. Then you can have more than 2 spokes here. We've got spoke 1, spoke 2 in my case, but you can have maybe for a large enterprise company, you can find out that maybe it has almost maybe 10, or depending on how large it is. So you give the name, then you specify the template type. This is hub and spoke, and remember here, hub and spoke VPN will set up using auto discovery with the BGP. This is Porter Gateway Protocol as the routing protocol. The tunnels are going to be created automatically, especially the policies here. I'm not going to create policies to reroute traffic through the VPN tunnel. It will be done automatically by the powers of this dynamic protocol called BGP. So you specify the role of that particular firewall. This firewall in this circumstance is serving as a hub. Then you click next. Incoming interface, you choose the one port on that firewall, that is port 1. Then you give a pre-shared key. Remember, without a pre-shared key, the spokes will not sync, will not do synchronization properly in line with the hub. So ensure that the pre-shared key that you set here, it is the same also on the spoke. The moment I just enter the pre-shared key, then it will specify the IP addresses for the tunnel. It will come up automatically, you see. If you have to change, you can change, but in my case, I'm not changing anything. So once you do that, you choose the local interface. This is the LAN. Then spoke type, it's an individual, but in my case, I have 2 spokes, so I will have to add. The moment you can add as many as you can, You choose next. The moment you do that, it will create the tunnel on the hub. But you see here, the configuration has ended up giving us the configuration keys. So these are the keys that will authenticate the spokes on the hub. Always remember these keys, so that to make sure to join this hub, this spoke 1 into the hub, we use these keys together with the pre-shared key, the passphrase that I had set before. So for example, spoke 1, you copy the key, you see it is copied on to the clipboard. Then you come to spoke 1, you just repeat, you just configure VPN as we started afresh, but with a little bit changes. This spoke 1 VPN, then hub and spoke, but this time the role of this particular firewall is a spoke. It's not a hub. Once you do that, you paste there the configuration key, this key, so that it can sync automatically with the hub. Once you do that, you apply, then next. You see, now you can get to understand why I emphasized on getting to retain the passphrase. It should be the same as on the hub. You see, it has detected the gateway automatic, and this is the gateway. You see this IP here. So the moment you just choose, you paste there the configuration key, it will detect this address. So once you do that, next, you see it has picked the tunnel IPs, the remote and the tunnel IP. This is the IP address for this tunnel on this firewall, and this IP is the IP address for the remote side. So once you do that, also you specify the local subnet, that is the local LAN. Then next, you create. You see, once you do this and come back here on the tunnel, you see the tunnel is created. The tunnel is created. You see it's up. So spoke 1 and the hub has synchronized. You see the tunnel is up, incoming and outgoing traffic. So let me also sync spoke 2. But before you go to spoke 2, always copy the configuration key. This key here is very important. So you repeat the same IPsec tunnels. You create. This is spoke 2 VPN. Then hub and spoke. You choose the spoke as its role. Then you paste the key. You apply. So some of the mistakes that many people do while configuring this particular hub and spoke VPN in real network environment, you find that an engineer pasted the configuration key, but he messed up or he missed to apply it. So once done, the branch is not syncing to the head office. So you apply. Once you apply, you specify the pre-shared key. Remember, it has detected my gateway, the gateway for the hub. So next, you see, it has detected also the tunnel IP. Then once you do that, you specify the LAN interface. Then you create. At the beginning, there is one dial-up connection. It means spoke 1 has joined the hub. The moment spoke 2 is also up, you will find that at this one will change into two dial-up connections. So we can verify just the same here by coming on tunnels. You see, it's up. So once it's up this way, we can go back to the hub, then refresh. We expect two connections there, you see. So with that in that regard, this firewall here, Spoke 1, Spoke 2, has joined the hub. It has created a dial-up connection with the hub. Now, this computer here, this particular LAN, can communicate comfortably through the IPsec tunnels with the central firewall at the head office. In that, the traffic will not be going through the internet automatically. It will be, once this traffic starts flowing from this Spoke 2 user to maybe this hub computer, an IPsec tunnel will be created automatically to allow that particular traffic to pass securely through the tunnel. You see here we have three ISP providers here. The ISP are not aware of which type of traffic is being. So you see, these particular ISPs here are not in the know, the type of traffic that is moving between the sites. So the next step is to verify the configuration. Let's go back to the firewall first. And also, you notice here, this is the IP for, you see, this is the hub. You can see this is the hub. Let's check. This IP is for Spoke 1, then this IP is for Spoke 2. We can verify here. You can see 192.168.122.97 is for Spoke 2, then 192.168.122.18 is for Spoke 1. You see, it's up. And that one, this bytes that you are seeing here, it is the traffic that we initiated earlier. We can try the same ping. .40.49. You see, I'm able to ping. For example, this is Spoke 1. Spoke 1, this IP here, this is the IP for a computer in Spoke 2. So we can check here. Let me just show you. So this computer here, it is pinging, sending traffic to this computer. So Spoke 1, even though there is no direct connection between Spoke 1 and Spoke 2, communication happens because there is a hub here that is synchronizing that kind of communication through the IPsec tunnel. So we can at least check. For example, get this. Can just copy it, then to minimize on time, we just come on the hub here, then paste that. You see, this is one of the diagnostic commands that you should know. For example, get VPN IPsec tunnel summary. This one, it will give us the summary of the VPNs, the tunnels that are up on the hub. So you can see we've got Hub Spoke VPN 0. This is for Spoke 1, the tunnel for Spoke 1. Then Hub Spoke VPN 1. This is for tunnel 2. And you see here, this is their subnets, 192.168.122.18.0. So Spoke 1 here, Spoke 1, this IP here exists from this particular subnet. Then this IP here, .97, it exists from this subnet. So that's one. Diagnostics VPN tunnel list. We can just also check that. Diagnostics. We can just check that. So you see, this is the list. You can see that DEC, this is decryption, then ENC, encryption. So it will tell you the packets that are encrypted, then the packets that are decrypted. As you can see, these are the status. The parent, you see, hub and spoke. This is the parent. It's a central hub that is controlling the other spokes. You can see here, this is the IPs, this is the gateway, this is the subnet for spoke 2. So from the gateway, it goes direct to that particular subnet. It does not go through the internet. You see, it is using BGP automatic IP tunnel. This is the tunnel IP. You see, this is the source, then destination, you see. So this is the verification that indeed we've managed to configure hub and spoke. Also, let's capture the packets. So let's capture the packets. You will come here. So this one is communicating with this. In that now there is no direct link between the two firewalls. It is using this particular link here. The hub is the one coordinating communication between the two spots. So we'll capture packets on that hub mains interface. And you see the packets here are being, traffic is flowing. You see, traffic is flowing. So this I'm starting Wireshark. So Wireshark is one of the tools that helps us to capture packets. As traffic is flowing here, I want to show you how Wireshark is gonna capture these packets. So it is registering by choosing the suitable interface. You can see. So once this one has finished loading, you will see the packets so that you will get to know where the source of the packets and where is the destination of the same packets. and through which interface are the packets flowing. Hope it has finished loading. You see? For example, here, just want to stop a bit. You see these IPs? These are a public IP. Public IP. Destination is this one. Then the source is this one. The source is this gateway. You see? So it has shielded the parameters for the two spokes. So thank you so much for staying tuned to this particular lab. I hope you have learned how to configure Hub and Spoke VPN on this particular project. So next, I can configure the spokes maybe in a scenario whereby we have 4 spokes, so that you can see how powerful this is. So feel free to subscribe to NetLabs Hub on YouTube for more videos, and also you can comment, like, and share. Thank you so much.